What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to TechCubed, and today we are going to be installing Windows Server 2019 into a VirtualBox virtual machine. Now, what's interesting is this was actually recommended by one of you in the comments, and I figured since I've never actually installed a Windows Server into a virtual machine before, or even installed a Windows Server at all, that I would take a look at it because it is interesting and it has many different use cases. So I figured out how to do that, and now I'm bringing you this tutorial. So you're going to need a couple things as usual. So the first thing you're going to need, of course, is VirtualBox. This is what we're going to be installing the virtual machine into. Next, what we are going to want to have is this ISO right here. Now, of course, this will be linked down in the description below, so you can get it for yourself, but this is the ISO you're going to want to have, and you're going to want to have VirtualBox. So without further ado, we can go ahead and get started. So, of course, the first thing you're going to want to do, get VirtualBox out again, or open it up. And I have my own custom machine folder where I'm going to install that to, so I'm going to set it there. Now, I am, of course, using expert mode right here, so there will be this little button right there. So if you're on a guided mode, it'll say expert mode down there. I use expert mode. I find it very much better to use. However, the installation process is basically the same. It's just guided, just walks you through everything a bit more if you haven't used VirtualBox before or you haven't used it a lot. But then again, yeah, like I said, very similar installation process, not much is different. So we are going to call it Windows Server. All right. So you can call it whatever you want, of course, doesn't really matter. But now Microsoft Windows, of course, and the version. Yeah, the version doesn't really matter. Actually, yeah, like I said, it doesn't really matter. But Windows 2019 is what I'm going to set it to, 64-bit, because that's the version we're installing. But in my experience, I've done a lot of testing with this. It doesn't really matter what you choose, but I'm just going to choose Windows 2019 since we're going to be installing a 2019 version of Windows. Alright, so now for the memory, I am going to go ahead and give it 8 gigs. Now this is about, I'd say, what you should be giving something like this. 8 gigs, I think, is pretty good. If you have more memory, for example, I have 64 gigs of memory in my machine. I could easily put this up to 16 or even 32 gigs, but that's a lot, especially since I'm not going to be using this incredible amount. But if you are, say, going to be using this more professionally, I highly recommend you put more memory in here, like 16 or maybe even 32 if your machine can handle it. But I'm just going to stick with 8 gigs. And besides, even if you're not using this for much, or even if, in case if you are, 8 gigs still should get you by. So file location, I already set that earlier, but that's just what's me installing the virtual machine to, or the virtual disk. Now, VDI, of course, is dynamically allocated. Now, for the amount of storage, I am going to go ahead and give it, I would say, 120. Actually, you know what? Actually, I think so. That 120, I think that'll be pretty good. Now, you of course can put more in here. In fact, you could be up to 2 terabytes in here, I think. That's what it is, 4 megabytes, 2 terabytes. Yeah, so I'm going to do 120. You can do more, you can do less, I think. But this is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to click create. And now we are not ready to turn on just yet because we got to go to settings. Now we got to come to system processor. I like to put 2 processors in here because that is a really good amount of processors to have in virtual machines these days, whether it's Linux, Mac, or even Windows. Now, of course, then again, you don't have to do this, but it just makes everything so much better if you put 2 or 4 processors in here. Now, for display video memory, that set it all the way to the max, which is good because you're going to want to have the max amount of video memory in here. And finally, we're going to want to come to storage where it says empty. We're going to choose a disk file and do that Windows Server disk from earlier and click OK. And now we are finally ready to start up our virtual machine. So we start it up. And it'll take, as per usual, take a couple seconds depending on your machine and whatnot. Now, select startup disk. We already did the startup disk in settings, so we can just click X and click out of these banners right there. And now it will start us up and get us ready for the installation process. Alright, so if you're at this point where it shows the Windows logo and it loading in, then you have done everything correctly. Now we are ready to sit back because it will load us into the installation. Alright, so Windows Server 2019 English US. Next, and of course you can set to English, UK or something, or even if you do prefer a different language, you can set that to that as well. Install now. All right, now setup will be starting. Now for the installation for Windows 10 per se and Windows Server is pretty similar. However, there are a couple slight differences, so I'll go over those. So first up here, one of the first differences is what version, of course. Now it's going to be different versions, so it doesn't go Windows Server 2019 Pro per se or something else like that. So now I will go for the Windows Server 2019 standard evaluation. Now, this is what I find to be the best. Now, of course, you can do a lot of these other ones as well. In fact, it doesn't really matter that much. In fact, actually, I kind of prefer that you actually I take it back. You don't want to use standard evaluation. I did this earlier, and you actually want to use desktop experience. I misspoke there. So when it comes to that, you can do data center. It's up to you if you want to do data center. But I'm just going to do Windows Server 2019 standard evaluation, but I forgot to mention that you want to do the desktop experience one. So then you can just click next. And then I accept the license terms. Of course, it always makes you go through that. And then now, of course, you want to come in here to custom, drive 0 unallocated space, 120 gigs, what we set it to earlier. Now we're able to click next. And now the installation will begin. Now at this point, you are ready to just sit back and wait for it to finish. So I will be right back. Alright, everybody, we're back, and the installation just finished. Now, it's going to need to restart to continue, but what we're actually going to want to do is come up here and X and turn off the machine. Well, actually, power off the machine. And then click OK, because we need to do something before we turn it back on. Now, once it properly turns off, alright, so it just turned off there, you're going to want to come into settings and go to network, and where it says network adapter, you're going to want to uncheck that box and click OK. Now, you're going to want to start it up again, and now you'll be ready to go through the installation. Now, the reason we did that and turned off network was because when you go through the installation, it makes you use a Microsoft account, and that's obviously not ideal. So what you're going to want to do is turn that off, and then you won't be able to, and then they can't use a Microsoft account, and they'll just let you bypass that, so you don't have to use a Microsoft account, because I don't think anyone wants to use a Microsoft account. And this is just a easy way to bypass it without having to unplug your Ethernet or turn off your network on your computer or something like that. So I will give it a little bit to start loading, and I will be back when it finishes. Alright, everybody, we're back, and it just finished loading in, and now we can finish the setup process. So now what we're going to want to do is going to set everything up, the virtual machine, or the Windows server, because we already did the virtual machine. And yeah, so we're going to do setting stuff like that. So I'm just going to do like space as my password. It's not a big deal. Oh, it doesn't meet that. Okay. What if I do that? Does that work? What if I do at 101 at 101 at 101? Does that work? Alright, I'm gonna try and remember that now. That's it. Wait, no, I didn't do it right. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, alright, so 3 ats, alright. Okay, so now we can finish. It doesn't meet the password requirements. Okay, so I will be back when I figure out what these password requirements are. God, Sarah, shut the actual fuck up. I swear to God, bro. Okay, everybody, we're back, and I actually had to put in a capitalized character, so that was the issue I was having. Alright, so now it looks like everything is set up, and it doesn't seem to be wanting to log me in, doesn't it? Oh, I have to press Control Alt Delete. Okay. All right, there we go. It's not a big deal. Oh yeah, just did that to my computer screen. All right. Not gonna get internet tonight, looking like that. No, bro, it does that. Why the fuck do I have to use Control Alt Delete? That's so fucked up. Okay, everybody, we're back, and I figured out the password situation. It turns out I actually had to use a capitalized letter, so that was the issue I was having. I didn't need to go through and have those troubles with it. I just need to do a capitalized letter. So remember that when you're installing Windows Server. But at this point, we're basically done. You can go through and do everything you need to with Windows Server. Of course, you get like the drivers and things installed that like make it full screen. I already went through that in a bunch of my other tutorials. I guess I can do a dedicated tutorial on that in the future if you guys would like. It's not that difficult though, because all you have to do is go into devices and insert guest edition CD image and install that to get full screen. But that is about it for today. I hope you all enjoyed. Feel free to leave recommendations for what you think I should do down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Tech Cubed over and out.